Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about images in the context of books. This is going to apply if you're using any form of images in a book, particularly any images that are beyond, the little sections you might use as a chapter or a section divider. We're talking images in a book. In the case that we're talking about here, I'm working on producing a children's book. We're doing the print copy and the ebook edition. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the way we do the images inside of the book, not how we make them because we have a separate artist. The artist is providing a digitalized copy of the format I recommended, and we'll get into what that is in a moment here. And then after we get into all of that, then I'll talk about how I'm taking those and putting them into the book. Thanks for checking out this video. I am Thomas Murawski, an author and a technology consultant. And on this channel, we want to teach you all of the information you need to get your writing done right. In other words, get your book and get it all formatted and ready to go to the printers. Of course, we are using mostly free and open source software. So here we'll talk about the different software we're using, and we're using in here GIMP to do some of the image manipulation. We're going to be using Sigil just to look at the ebook formats, and we are going to look at LibreOffice. Of course, miscellaneous other image viewers as well. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the computer and see what we are looking at. So this is a children's book we are producing, and this should be out on our publishing company website information here soon. So if you have a child, this one's I think targeted more towards like a 5 to 10 year age range. Little light, easy to read, but certainly something you're going to want to read with your children. So we have an artist, a very talented artist who took these individual images, drew all the images, colored them by hand, and then scanned them into the computer and then sent those to me in the highest resolution as possible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these images and insert them throughout the book. So here's an image. This is basically the same image, just a little bit smaller. Here's a separate image. Now, one thing you are going to notice in LibreOffice is it is going to give you this little line. You'll see that around nearly every single image. It's just a marker line, just like these guys down here. They do not actually appear in the final document. Let me pull up the final PDF. I think this is the final PDF version we're using. And let me go back up to the very beginning. So what you'll see here is those lines have disappeared because they're just marker lines to indicate where the borders are inside LibreOffice itself. So they're not actually going to appear anywhere. All right, so in order to get these images in, we want to make sure that we are using the highest resolution possible. That's going to be 300 to 600 DPI, depending on how you're doing things. The absolute minimum is 300. So if you've ever seen a book, probably a self-published book, where they have some images and things are looking all jagged and all that kind of stuff, well, the reason is they're using too low of a resolution, because the resolution of the image makes a difference. Now, there's one other factor, and that is the color profile. When you are printing, what you're seeing is a reflection of the light off of the book reflecting into your eye, and printed documents use CMYK. Technically, you can do these with GIMP, but it requires a lot of extra work. I personally have never had a problem just using RGB. The printers do a really, really good job of converting them over as long as your images are the right resolution. But when you're talking about digital things, so like a screen reflecting out, those typically use the RGB color scheme. Now, I do wish GIMP managed CYMK better. There are ways around it. If I absolutely had to deal with it perfectly, I could actually get away with that with maybe doing some things in another application called Krita, which is designed for illustration, so it definitely does that. In our case, though, I'm not all that worried about it. As I said, I have never had any problems whatsoever with GIMP. doing any of that. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and open up the image here in GIMP, and we will have a brief look at what this looks like. So here is the image, and you can see down here this is only 33% of the size. I have hotkeys in here, Shift, Control, Alt, in order to get to scale the image. And I use this to just kind of see what the sizes of everything are. I'm not all that concerned about the width and the height as long as it's within reason. So this is literally an 8-inch by 6-inch image as it is. What is important is the resolution. You'll see that we have 300 resolution here. What this means is how many pixels in a given inch. And that is the important factor. And when people are talking about images, and some cameras take images in 72, some cameras just take images in 300. It really depends on the camera, but this is really what determines the size of the image as far as the file size, and it's going to determine how well it prints. Now, you want to use JPEG images in your documents. There are a ton of different images. You have your bitmaps, which are really large. They're like the, quote, true perfect color. You have PNG files. There's TIFF files, which is what you usually use for printing like posters and things like that. So there's a lot of different images, but what you want to use is the highest quality JPEG. And so if you were going to go ahead and save this image, and I have a hotkey for saving an image, let's just go ahead and call this image delete. Then what you will see here in GIMP is you're going to see the quality. Now, if we are exporting something for a website, I use 85 for the quality, because anything over that, the eye cannot detect the quality changes. But when you're talking about printing it, you want this to be at 100%, and you want to go ahead and export it at that. So for inside the book, we are talking about 300 DPI, just that pixels per inch minimum, with the 100 quality. And then what you do in the document as you are exporting your document, so export as PDF, there is going to be an option over here. You have JPEG compression. You do not want this. This is going to compress those images down. You want lossless compression, which means exactly the way they are put in is exactly the way they are. And make sure you have this unchecked. Even if you're setting this to the exact resolutions of your images, if you set this, it may interfere with things. So make sure you input the images into your document in the proper size, and then leave this guy unchecked on your export. And that's going to solve all of your image issues. Now, the problem is when I take this document and I export it into the format we need to start working on the ebook, is it's going to push out these images that are a massive size. So let's have a look at these sizes of these images. You can see at the very bottom of the screen, this image is 2.8 megabytes. All right, 2.8 megabytes in size. Versus the same image, as I compressed it for the ebook, is only 73 kilobits. So infinitely smaller. Let's go ahead and open this guy up with GIMP, and I'll show you what these image dimensions are. And in ebook, you treat it as any digital type image. So you can see here, we made the size significantly smaller just to match the size we needed for the book. And notice the resolution is at 72. Anything higher than 72, the human eye cannot distinguish. Anything below 72 starts to degrade the quality of the image. So use 72 for anything web-based or ebook-based or anything like this. And this is going to cut your image sizes from a massive amount of almost 3 megabytes for a single image down to just 73 kilobytes. So for comparison, 73 kilobytes is somewhere to the order of less than 1/10 of the size. And on the e-readers, it's going to look identical as to the images in the printed document. All right. Now, when you are going and doing that, what you have here is, let me find my sigil. And in here is where I have all of the images. So I created the ebook that has all these images, and as I exported the ebook, it created everything, and all I had to do is go in here and replace the image. Okay, so my process for replacing the images was not to actually do it inside of here. I thought this had a replace image function, but it actually does not. I thought I could just go ahead and open this up and replace with, but we only have copy image, save as, and open with. So what I actually did on this in order to quickly batch replace those is, here's a fun little tip for you. All an ebook is in the .epub format is a zip file. So you just open it up in any zip archive manager and open it back up here, and all of these images, these here were the original sized images, and all I did is copy these images out, open them up in GIMP, reduce the file size, and then simply drop them right back in here with the archive manager. Close the file, and the program doesn't know the difference. And so I was able to take this, and I was able to get the ebook down from like 80 megabytes rather, down to 1.3 megabyte because all of the images are properly compressed. So as far as your images go, as a brief review, anything inside of print, you want 300 DPI absolute minimum, and make the image as large as possible. And with LibreOffice, it's perfectly acceptable to make it too large and slightly scale it down. That's going to print way better than if you're slightly too small. You're like, oh, let me just bump it up just a little bit. That tiny bit is going to add a ton of distortion in your printed product. You do not want to do that. You want to make sure that you are skimming everything down, not pushing everything up. All right. And then for your ebooks, you want to have 72 DPI saved at the 85% quality, which is going to minimize the file size but maximize the visual aesthetics so that your images are going to work. Then you simply input them wherever you need to input them. So hopefully this helped you understand a little bit better about images. I realize this was a lot of information, but you can have a look at the LibreOffice and the Sigil ebook videos for a little bit more in depth of some of the things I was talking about. If there's more questions, leave them in the comments, because I take those questions you leave in the comments and I use those for future videos. If you have a question, other people might have that question as well. So anyway, thanks for watching this video here on Writing Done Right. Have a look for, stay tuned for an announcement of this book when we are sending it out and getting it ready to go out to the printer. We'll go ahead and make an announcement. So if you want to pick up a copy of that book for your the children in your lives, you can go ahead and grab a copy of that book from our website or anywhere you buy your books online. And we might have some coupon codes eventually. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, with that, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that we have helped you to get your writing done right.